Welcome back. As we promised, we are going to start with tackling the latest developments in Gaza, and we are very much delighted to have with us via phone Dr. Monica William, our Professor of International Relations. Thank you very much for being with us, Dr. Monica. A very good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you.
Dr. Monica, the UN Security Council is scheduled to meet on Monday to discuss the Gaza peace plan for the first time and mentioning the Palestinian state or going toward a Palestinian statehood. How do you see this development, Dr. Monica, and the expected results or the outcomes of this meeting?
Of course, the upcoming or tomorrow Security Council session marks a very critical turning point, particularly because, as you mentioned, U.S. draft resolution itself in Palestine mentions the establishment of Palestinian state. So it's the first time, of course, international community or U.S. includes such language in any formal international document related to Gaza file. So this is a profound diplomatic departure that signals recognition within the U.S. strategic community that managing Gaza. And of course, the draft doesn't stop at political template. It introduced for the first time, of course, the concept of international stabilization force to operation in Gaza during the transitional period. How this combination shows this political horizon shows that major powers are now prepared to embed the question of Palestinian statehood within a broader framework of international oversight, security guarantee, and reconstruction mechanism. This presents a strategical shift in how the international system tried to govern the post-war landscape or moving from this crisis management to shaping strategic stability somehow, of course.
To take from your words, Dr. Monica, regarding how the international system is looking at Gaza or Palestine and the future of the Middle East, and after the Israeli genocide war killed, nearly 70,000 Palestinians, mostly women, children, and minors. There are two proposals from America and from Russia, and there are differences. Do you think that the UN Security Council is going to meet to try to find a compromise or to try to find something to make the veto states not to spoil the whole issue, not to return back to the chaotic situation which unfortunately lasted for more than 2 years?
Of course, if we try to tackle with Russian, of course, for instance, situation in this regard, Russia introduced its own document for this issue, which is content from one page and tackle more clearly with the Gaza file in this regard. Well, when we try to go in depth with Israel, which likely approach the meeting with deep strategic defenses and any formal mention of Palestinian state, as we see yesterday from different formal speeches from Ben Gvir and also Smotrich, it's well be viewed with Israel political leadership. Of course, it's an erosion of its freedom of military action in Gaza and constraint on its long-term security doctrine. Of course, Israel, of course, is expected to intensify behind the scene lobbying, particularly in Washington and Europe capitals, to try to undermine any bending or any solution. At the same time, it will make parallel steps on ground, such expand security zones or accelerating the destruction of tunnel network, which is, of course, happened yesterday, the week ago, to create facts or complicate the implementation of any resolution that pressured it toward political consensus. Overall, Israel reaction will be framed around perceiving what's seen as its core security issue for it. And of course, if we try to try to read American shift, which is driven by indeed combination of regional instability and strategic problems and political pressure. First, Washington increasingly recognized that an often-ended conflict in Gaza undermines U.S. interest in Middle East. Yes, and the domestic political cost of supporting Israel unconditionally has risen, especially ahead of two parts, and from the MAGA and public statement of Congress voice, which demand a more balanced approach. Third reason, in my point of view, the relation with key Arab partners like Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan cannot be maintained without demonstrate a credible path towards escalation.
In your opinion, Dr. Monica, what will be the interference of other big powers, like the Europeans, for example, like France, like Germany, like the UK, as they had a stance, and most of these countries already recognized a Palestinian state, and even they vowed to have diplomatic ties with it. How do you see this as only an introduction, and tomorrow in the UN Security Council meeting there are going to be other steps forward on the right path, or what?
Of course, as you mentioned, European governments have generally welcomed any diplomatic movement that brings Security Council closer to introduce a two-state solution, especially given the reference to a Palestinian state in the U.S. And the United Nations and General Assembly. For you, European countries, this language aligns with a long-standing European support for negotiated two-state framework based on international law. At the same time, European positions aren't entirely unified. While countries like France, Spain, Ireland, and Belgium tend to favor stronger international involvement, including the idea of international stabilization force over others, this remains caution, insists that any mechanism must have clear mandates, broad international consensus, and Israel acceptance to be viable. Overall, Europe views the U.S. move as a potential opening, but remains concerned about implementation of the international power. And the risk that stabilization force could become politically or just operationally. They want to just be a political, not operation to contribute to the disarmament from Hamas, of course.
Well, let's wait and see, and let's cross our fingers that tomorrow is going to be a turning point in the Palestinian cause, and to let the Palestinians practice their very legitimate right to have their independent Palestinian state, far from the fears all the time from the atrocities of the Israeli occupation. Dr. Monica, thank you very much for your input, and have a very good day. Right after the short break, we are going to return back with more, so stay tuned.